Okay, we should be getting very close.
Close. Okay, we live.
Yep, I think we're there. Heidi ho,
amazing.
everyone. It is Thumping Thursday, and let's hope it's a thumper for all of us. It's nice to have Ash back in the room over his internet woes. G'day, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Very frustrating day yesterday. I do have something we should probably go straight to and have a look at, but I think later on
I'll give you some power.
Yes, I'll talk about one of the mistakes I made yesterday. For lessons learned for everybody. Now, where are we?
Not happening. Ash, co-host.
I can't find the.
Should be good for now.
Should be good. Is this the live one? This isn't the live one. Okay. Why haven't I got the live one? I'm just trying to get in the room as well. Let me see if I can get in the room, and then we can have a look at this trade.
In the YouTube room, you mean?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's look at this trade first because it is close.
Okay.
Right, so it is. Now, this is only going to be relevant for, I know somebody traded this FTSE short as well. They were looking at the FTSE short. So I had a bit of a frustrating day yesterday because I couldn't get in the room, and I would have loved to have shorted here on this daily pivot, but I didn't have any internet until later in the US session. And I managed to get on this weekly pivot. Now, here, I think there could be a potential bounce. So I guess what I'm looking to do, and this is probably only for the person that has got their short on the market, but what I'm looking to do is go long here while leaving this on the table. And if it fails, then the trade has to come off. I just have to accept that that's my profit. Now the profit is up around about 100 pips, so it's a pretty nice trade anyway. But if it fails, I'll have to accept that that's it. If it triggers me in, of course, that's the other sort of like question. So if the market is strong enough to keep going down, I shouldn't get taken into the trade. But if it starts to look like I should trade this long, then what I can do is try and keep this one in place, trade it up again, and try and take some profit on the way up. Because what I really would like to do is add to a position to the downside. And this one's already. In actual fact, I don't know what happened to that stop, but I know I moved it down there, didn't I? This one I'm going to have as a break-even trade, regardless of anything else. If I can get a long in, try and get up a little bit higher, go short again, and try and get a freebie effectively on my next one. So far this morning, I am looking at a long FTSE and the price. Oh, actually, you can't check it on this one, can you? Let me see what the price would be. Let's do it on this chart instead. Sorry. Now, if you're not in a short, then I wouldn't advise taking a long. You know, this market is definitely down. This is just something that if you're in the short, you can play with. Now, the price to go long is going to be 62. Sorry. The price to go long is going to be about 62.25 by the looks of things. No, I don't know if I can do this. Let's see if I can get this up and running here. So this is just for anybody that is short. So if you are short, the entry long is 62.25, and you don't need a stop loss because it's the two trades will be balanced. Okay, so it'll be 62.25, and that's a buy. So that's that, mate. So far the market's coming down, so we don't need to do anything right now. We can just let it run. But I'm just watching this area, and the reason I'm watching this area is that you look at this on a longer term time frame, and we're just on this little ledge here. So so that little ledge may provide some buying. Now, if it doesn't, then it's all good. You know, just let it come down. If you're in the short, just let it fall. You don't need to do anything. but at this stage, there still may be a buying opportunity here. Let me just double check what's going on out there and see. Yeah, the markets look a little bit negative, so it looks like we should have a little bit of time anyway to let this evolve. So yeah, that's it for right now, mates. I'll let you take the pound, and we'll come back and have a look at some other bits and pieces. There are a few other ideas that I've got as well.
Right, buds. Yeah, we've got a few things. I'm not sure if we got into them in this show or the evening show yesterday. There's a few things going on. We'll update those just in case those in the room are actually in those trades. Look at that, would you? Kumar, you're my new best friend, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Kumar has produced this little EA that's sitting up here. And of course, once we change the, or we go to the new candle, these values change. But I am able to just look at that and get the exact levels that I need. Ah, Kumar, man, just amazing. Thank you so much. Really, really good. And I'm celebrating on the inside, I can assure you. So let me give you the levels for today. In fact, I'll put these on myself. I haven't done that yet. The sell for the OCO trade, the OCO breakout trade, is 1.2645. 1.2645 is the sell. The stop loss. Look at this. I don't have to ask anybody any questions. I'm just so impressed. And the stop loss is 1.2711. My hair might even go non-gray again after this.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. And the buy order is obviously the reverse of that. At 1.2711 will be the entry. And the stop loss will be 1.2645. Rightio ho. What happened there? Oh, I'm doing the buy order. Am I? Okay. So I can still bugger it up even when it's in front of me. 1.2711, 1.2645. What's wrong with that? Pending or buy stop. What's going down? 1.2711 is a valid price. 1.2645 is a valid stop loss. And it's a buy stop. Okay, let me re-enter all that. I don't understand. New order. It is a buy stop.
I'll be with you in 1 second, mate. I was going to call my...
The buy price will be 1.2711. And the stop loss will be 1.2645. And there you go. It liked it that time for whatever reason. Okie dokie. Kumar, mate. So happy. Thank you so much. We can, of course, turn that off now. And it doesn't disappear. Why doesn't it disappear? EA. It's disappeared from here. Now I've done something wrong. Oh, I'll fix it later. Anyway, all good. G'day everyone in the room, by the way. Shukri, Kumar, I've said hello to. Alan, Emmanuel, Swee, LT, Emmanuel. Did I say Emmanuel before? I did not. Yes, I did. And Helen. Everyone loves your EA, Kumar, I think. Righto, are we looking to get into this short? Perhaps we are, perhaps we aren't. I really don't know. We have got a whole damn lot going on, and I hope you guys have been alert, because now was the time, or overnight was the time to be alert, very much so. We had the FOMC statement come out, of course, and I read that, and I can see why the market didn't react to it too much at all. Very much, I suppose, cut and paste. Every central banker in the world's pretty much saying the same thing at the moment. I don't, although, of course, what we have witnessed, in my humble opinion, is the stall in the market that is generally the case pre-FOMC statement has now gone away, and we have got movement in the market, which is obviously fantastic. It's very, very difficult to make money if the market's not moving, and now we do have a lot of movement in the market. And is today our day, retracement day, or reversal day?
Yeah, big question.
That is the big question. And I'm hopeful that it's a reversal day, because we are in a few positions to accommodate that. We'll come back to you now, Ash, and I'll go through those a little bit later, if you're all right to go.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, I was just trying to get hold of my bro. Do you know what? The broker is shut down. I don't mean the trading broker. I'm talking about an investment broker. They've shut down. I've made a bit of money on a share, and I'm trying to close it up, and they're not opening up. And it's so I've seen the market doing this. The last thing I want to be doing is holding on to shares that aren't performing very well. And they decided
the broker.
And it's a reputable broker as well. So I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so let's have a look where we're at. Now, there's a couple of things I was interested in. I'm still interested in gold, and gold's quite a fascinating one in some respects, because it certainly looks like it's in an area that could sell off. I think one of the issues, with all this stuff going on is that Jerome Powell has. Let me just get rid of this one just in case I need to do something with it. Oops. I might need to get rid of this. I'd get rid of that one because I might need to do something.
Classic head and shoulders break.
Oh, mate, it's amazing. I mean, you can't get a cleaner head and shoulders. Anybody that doesn't say the head and shoulders don't exist, then you just have to look at this. And it's as you say, it's a classic, beautiful head and shoulders. This one just really clean, right on the neckline. And I suppose this is where we can start looking at measured moves on this. There's your left shoulder there. There's the head up there. And there's the right shoulder there. Absolutely beautiful head and shoulders. Now, let's see. I mean, this is some of the reason that we need to be a bit careful with this. Measured move on this. We're taking left shoulder to the right shoulder. There's different ways to measure head and shoulders, but this is the way I tend to do it. And then wherever the neckline is, it's probably around about there. And then I'm measuring the gap between basically the height of the two shoulders, with the height of the shoulders. Is the measured move, and then we come down here, and we're pretty much on top of it. So this is why I'm being a little bit careful down here. I'd like to get along in the market at this particular stage, but the last thing I want to do is enter it when I'm in a nice short. So I'm just protecting the short, because I think that there's still a chance that this comes down. But again, look, nice test of that area as well. Now this was at 2 in the morning my time, so there was not really another opportunity to enter that one. Not that I'm in on this account anyway, but a nice little test. So there's another classic kind of area to try and get into. So trying to get on the right shoulder, that's one thing to do, and then try and get on the neckline, which is now broken down. But these really did appear all over the financial markets. Look at this on the S&P. No, this one's actually a lot scruffier on this one than on the futures. I might be able to show you a futures market instead. Actually, it's not too bad. You know, it's not as scruffy as I thought. Actually, it's not any cleaner than I realised. But again, you got left shoulder there. You got a head up here. Now this shoulder is pretty high, right? But it is lower, and that's the key. Is that you're looking the right shoulder's got to be lower than the other one. This one does produce a neckline along there. So there's the left shoulder. There's the head. Sorry, there's the left shoulder, there's the head, and this is the right shoulder area here. So actually not as clean as I thought that one was, but let's have a look at some others. Because I'm pretty sure I was looking at one of the US markets and thinking, wow, you know, these are appearing. This is the Dow. This one is a little bit cleaner. This one's a shade cleaner. So we got this area there, and this area here, and this area here. So that's our head and shoulders with a neckline going along there. And again, another test at this particular point here. So another entry on the break of the neckline. So the classic way to enter the head and shoulders is to enter on the neckline, but that test there would have got people into this trade with an entry under this bar. If you're trading on this particular time frame, then the entry would have been under this bar here, which is probably around about break even right now. I would have thought, you know, you're probably up around about 1% on that one. So they were all going on. The euro pound is probably the frustrating trade of the year currently. That one started to fly. I had my entry at 84, and 84 is just there, just a little bit lower actually. There's my entry price just there, and I took profit here, moved stops to break even, and then look what happened. Doop, straight up. But again, you know, another example of the inverted head and shoulders here. Left shoulder there, there's the head, and there's the right shoulder, and there's your neckline along there, which is probably there. nowhere near as clean, but we've had these going on. You know, we've had these reversal patterns going on, so you've got to look out for these. You know, they don't.
Waiting for them for weeks, mate. Absolutely waiting for them for weeks.
And yeah.
You can't take them all though. That's the thing. Because it's the same trade.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the FTSE as well. You know, just going back to the FTSE. The other thing about this one that I really like is the monthly chart, because the monthly chart is also forming what looks like a shooting star, and it got close enough. It tested this kind of area, and now it's starting to look like a shooting star a little bit. So if that's the case, then this will provide further downside into the summer. So we got the summer months on our side. If anybody is short on the FTSE, you've got the summer months on your side, which is a brilliant position to be in. So when if I show you the account that I've actually managed to get the trade on, if I look at this one, then I can slide it. There's two ways to play it. You know, you can slide your stops down, and because it's when I look at this really steep, because this is so steep coming down, then what I'll do is I'll switch to a shorter term time frame to see if I can find more of a gentle movement to the downside. And I did look earlier on, and the closest I've got is on a 5-minute chart. So the 5-minute chart is suggesting that there is a little kind of trend just along here. So at the minute, you know, stops are going to be above this area. It does mean that you end up having to give back quite a lot. You know, there's 53 pips there. But, you know, hopefully it will continue to slide down, and there won't be too many issues on that one. Manuel was asking about measuring the FTSE. Okay, Helen. Yeah, well, let's look at that. Let's look at that. That's good that you're recognizing the patterns. So how do you know the value per point? Okay. Do you know what, Kuma? This is really difficult, right? Emmanuel, do you have Trade Manager? Because that makes it a lot easier. Now it's easy for me because I've got a sterling-based account. So one point is effectively £1. Now I'm on futures, So I can't go 1.00, but I need to do 0.1 for my £1 a pip, if you like. But when you're on Fusion, it's around about 1. The UK 100 is around about 1, 1.00. But I'll show you a little trick of how to calculate your lot size, which is clunky and annoying. But unless you get either, well, you need to get the trade manager if you want it to be nice and cheap. Sorry, nice and clean, and not cost you a lot of time. But with this one, if you're going to be trading a dollar a pip, if you like, it's 1.00. Pretty much, it's going to cost you an exchange rate, so it might be $1.30 or something like that. So you'd know what the US the pound dollar amount is, and then you do that. But what you can do, this is another way around it. You can find out exactly how much a trade is going to cost you. Let's say you've got a setup, and you know your setup is going to be 10 pips or 20 pips or whatever it is. Doesn't really matter. So you can do this on any of your accounts here. You open up a chart. You open up your Market Watch window. Let me do this really slowly. Unless you've got something coming of you, Jeff.
No, mate, I'm good.
Okay, so you open up your chart, put in your amount, so 1.00. So I want to work out how much a pip is going to cost me. Then I'm going to go and change this to pending order. I'm going to pick an area on my chart which is nowhere near where price is, so I don't get triggered in. So it's currently at 61.72. So let's do it in the 6200 area. Actually, let's get above that just in case. Let's go 62.30. So pending order, and it's going to be a sell limit. And I'm going to put in 62.30. Now, if my value is at 1, then let's say I've got a trade that's 30 pips away or 20 pips away. That means my stop loss needs to be at 62.50. 62.50. I place that in, and you'll see your lines. Now, if you get your Alt, click your Alt button, then it gives you the ability to select your stop level. And if you move it around, you can see on the left-hand side a change in number. So you can find out there that's going to cost me $25.93. So 1.00 at 20 pips cost me $25. So now from there I can go, right, well, if I've got a 40 pip stop loss, it's going to cost me $50. So obviously get rid of it after you've done it. So you can do that with any currency pair or anything you want. If you've got the Swiss yen, you can pick out your levels. Let's say you wanted to take this bar here. You got an entry there. And let's say you wanted to have a stop at the low. First, you need to measure the bar. Now, to measure the bar, you want to bring up your crosshair, which you can do by clicking the little cross sign there, or you can click in the middle there. Just click the middle of your mouse, and your crosshair will appear. And then you go to the top, left click and hold, and bring it down to the bottom line, and that tells me 22 pips. It's 22.3. So let's call it 23 pips. And now I just want to pick an area in my chart where I can measure 23 pips. So let's say I'm going to bring it down to, I like round numbers because it's easier to go up from or delete from. So let's say 113 would be, as long as I can see the area, that's fine. So I'm going to see how much 1 costs me. I'm going to go 113.23. No, 113 is the stop loss at 113, 100 with an entry. At 113.23. I'll place that. Alt. And then when I drag this around, I can see that's going to cost me $200. And then I can just work out, if that cost me 200, if 23 pips cost me $200, then, or in fact, it's $220. So it's pretty much 1-for-1 on this Swissy yen for one standard lot. It's clunky. It's a very, very clunky way to do it. But it's a way if you don't have Trade Manager. And the only reason I don't use Trade Manager is because I don't like. I tend to trade the FTSE more than anything. So I know how much each pip costs straight away because I trade it so often. And I don't like lots of things to think about. Okay. So, Helen, let's have a look at no problem, Emmanuel. If you need me to go through that again at any point, next week or something, then we can go through it again. Have a little practice. I would just have a look at your chart. Make sure that your pending order is nowhere near price. Get it way away from price so you don't get the mistake of getting triggered into something you're just trying to figure out the value. So let's talk a little bit about patterns and how to read them, and what happens next. So now this is the challenge. Now Jeff will look at a chart and he will check out the technical pattern, the technical aspect of the chart, and he will make decisions from reading the technicals. Now my approach is slightly different because I want to know what the fundamental drivers may be. I don't know if they will be, but I want to know what they may be. So if I've got a fundamental possibility, if I've got a fundamental reason for the chart to move, then what I want to see is which way does it go after that fundamental possibility happens. Now, if we take the FTSE, let's take the S&P actually into account. Now we know that that the Fed is omnipotent effectively when it comes down to the markets. So we've got a fundamental reason for the markets to move. If you look through your week, go through your go through the week of trade of updates and news and everything else. Then just have a look. What we got today? Nothing. So is there a fundamental reason that we can see here? Now, obviously, sometimes things just come out of nowhere. But is there a fundamental reason for today there being a change in the market? Well, not really. Not there's evident. It could change, but we haven't really got any evidence of that. So that means that if there was a significant announcement yesterday, the likelihood is we're going to get some follow through. Now, this is the announcement yesterday, the FOMC. And the statement. So after that happened, what was going on in the market? And it was very quiet during that speech. Now that speech was at 7 p.m. my time, and I think it finished about 8 or something like that, just before the market closed, which was this bar here. So while this was going on, we start to see these bars happen. Now, if you've got a fundamental reason for the market to potentially change, doesn't matter if you understand the speech. What matters is that there may be a way that this market can change. So you've got a fundamental reason that the market can change, and then you see this bar, and you've got the pattern. Then you can trade it. Then it, for me anyway, then I can trade it. Then it adds some meat onto it because it means that I'm seeing a pattern created by people making decisions off a fundamental shift in the market. Or a fundamental announcement in the market. So if you follow the way that I trade, then you're going to be looking at other bits of detail that will then bring you to the chart and what the chart will be describing to you. But if you trade the way that that Jeff trades and you look more about the technical patterns, then you might just look at this and say, well, we've got a head and shoulders here. We've got a head and shoulders going on an hourly chart. So what do I need to see to suggest that this right shoulder, for example, is breaking down? And then you just would do the same thing as you normally would. What are the chart patterns telling you from this point? And when you get a lower high, I mean, the pivot might cause a problem. So you might not want to get involved in the pivot, but that's still a decent technical reason not to get involved there. But if you look for the pattern within the pattern, and that's what it's about really. If you know, if you just trade, if you just look at the pattern, then I get it. You're in all sorts of trouble. But what are the patterns within the pattern? And what we get with this one is, you know, this thing going on here, and then we get in and then we start to turn around. There's almost another head and shoulders there by the looks of things. So the head and shoulders is telling us that there is distribution here. It's telling us that people are potentially getting out of shares. So all we then want to do is pick a safe point that we can get in, and the safest point is probably here. I know that pivot's in the way, but you'd still want to see how you're far enough away from the pivot to take this trade and see how that reacted. Now, if we can get in at the safe point here, we can take profit when it gets down to an area of potential support, and then we can just let it go and see what happens. Similar to the pound. Now, this I suppose the euro pound didn't have a fundamental reason when I took the trade, so it's not always the case. But similar to here, you know, what we had here is this inverted head and shoulders going on, and if we just look at you know, what are the other patterns within this, then the patterns within it really is we've got an area down here which created the head, and this is the area of previous resistance. Now that area we're going to assume will become support. Now it wasn't tested there, wasn't tested there. All of a sudden it gets tested, and it's got a green light from that point. Now it's been tested. So looking at that, then there's a bar that shows you after the test what the reaction is. So really, that's the other aspect of it. What does the bar look like after the test? You know, has it rejected the area that that it came from? So it's a pattern within a pattern, I suppose, is the point. You know, it's that there's an inverted head and shoulders here. There's a pattern within that, and so that means we can start looking at this inverted head and shoulders. So we just need to get a bit more detailed on what's going on within the pattern, I suppose. And with a nice with an inverted head and shoulders, there's lower high, exactly, higher low, actually, the higher low here. So you're looking for the higher low with the right shoulder. That's what the right shoulders should be. It should be a higher low from where the head is. And back to the FTSE. This was a lower high here. It didn't test this area, which was actually problematic for me yesterday. But it didn't test this area, but that was a lower high there. No, I'm just looking at this and just making sure I don't need to do anything. No, I can leave that for now. So all the time with these patterns, we are looking for that bit of information. Now there's patterns everywhere. And I agree with you. It's a challenge, you know, to try and figure out what is the pattern really telling me about the market. Now we talked about this bear flag the other day, which ended up not being the actual pattern. But if we look at this one, this is the next one. That's the next pattern. Now, what this is telling us is that there's some consolidation. So what we want to see is how it reacts if it breaks this consolidation, and we see how it reacts on this bar. Now it's not there's no silver bullet, obviously, but we get this consolidation area, this ascending triangle. We get in this squeeze here. All of a sudden we pop out of it. We come back and test it. Now this bar's no good, but this bar tells us what we need to know. And if we take in that bar, then we're nicely drifting down and we're in the money now. So that's seeing the patterns, the first thing, that the only pattern that I'm comfortable trading within is the head and shoulders or inverted head and shoulders. I quite like trading within those, trying to get on the shoulder rather than the neckline. But some of those others you can't really do the same thing with. You can't do that with other patterns. You've just got to accept that you need a breakout. You need the break and the retest. So I'm just looking at some other bits here. Yes, exactly. So there's different ways to I'll tell you what. Jeff. Did you want to look at some 30-minute bars?
Sure, mate. We'll do.
Okay, well, I will get to that. I'll tell you what, Fan. We'll do a little bit of a section on it later on. If it's a bit quieter, I'll do a section on it later on, because the thing about the head and shoulders is that there is there's a really good way to play the head and shoulders, and a really good way to get in on the right shoulder, and I will show you that later on. But I've actually got to deal with this share right now. So if I just pass back to you, Jeff. And we'll have a big section on patterns later and how we read them and all that kind of thing.
Okie dokie. And I will start with the pound. Hasn't been triggered as yet, as you can see. And we're bang midstream between the short and the long entry. Really interesting day today, and I think this is going to will definitely shape the week for me, without any shadow of a doubt, with 3 or 4 positions in place trying to catch these reversals, if indeed they are going to be reversals. Certainly there are retracements going on at the moment. But I think I'll start with the dollar index chart. I'll go back there, shall I? I've been banging on about this for a week or so. Now I can't share the dash thing. Yes, I can. Okay, screen number, that one. And you should now be able to see my my dollar index chart. And what I've been waiting for very, very patiently is, I've got the wrong screen up here. I'm just checking that you guys, okay, you've got it right. I've been waiting very, very patiently for a retest of this breakout area, which is both this trend line here, and I'm not sure why I've got that on my chart. That's the daily chart. Let me go to the weekly. That's why I've got it. Yeah, okay. I was looking to play a false break, and it hasn't yet come. Now, I am a massive bear, the US dollar. There's no question about that. And I've been waiting for this bounce back to this confluence area, and it just won't happen. I'm very, very patient person, and maybe today's the day, maybe it isn't. But look at this chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the last 12 days have been big selling days or selling days. And this has fallen dramatically, out of the 104s, I think we got up to here at some stage. Yep. And now we're down around about the 96 level. And that's the level, of course, that's holding this price up at the moment. If we are to get a bounce, it will be here, one would suspect, given the technical aspect of that low there. But if we get through that, well, hello, 94.5, one would think. So if I don't get this today, then, as I say, I think my week is shaped, and I won't be walking away with too much money in my pocket. That's for sure. Because if these trends continue, that's no good for me. As you know, I'm not a trend trader. I'm looking for these reversals, and certainly we're trading the retracements at the moment. If they become reversals, then we win. If they only remain retracements, then probably the best we can do is break even or maybe put a little bit in the bank if we are fortunate. How do we go about that? Well, we've already started that process, of course. And I'm not sure how many of these trades you guys are in. I think a few of them were actually placed in the US session. Not 100% sure of that. Let's go and have a look at them though. Aussie CAD is one. Now, we failed at Aussie CAD earlier in the week. We tried to trade the break and retest of the weekly pivot. So we're really trying to get in early here. It was really essentially the break of the neckline as well. Right shoulder, neckline, head, sorry, left shoulder, neckline, head, right shoulder, neckline there. So break and retest of that neckline didn't work. And then we saw this bar here, and we are in on that bar. We have taken our first profit, and that's up to you exactly what you wanted to do with that. If you want to take a third off, as I have, keep your stops where they are above that right shoulder. That's what I've done. And obviously we're going to have a bit of a struggle getting through the level that we're currently at. If we don't, and we get above the daily pivot, it's probably time to start thinking about closing that. If we get a close above the daily pivot, it's probably time to start thinking about closing that position so you don't get a loss on the trade. That's Aussie CAD. Look, if we do break through here and get a retest of the weekly pivot and trade line confluence area, and of course another crack at the neckline, I would scale into this again. So just stay alert to that. This is a crucial area for this trade. If we do get through here, I think we're away. And if we get a retest here, that'll be the time I'll be looking to scale into it. That's Aussie CAD. Pound Aussie, I don't think is triggered for me yet. No, it hasn't. I've got this set here above this bar. Now, I did say yesterday, and I'm not sure if it was in the show or the US session, I can never remember from day to day what I've said where, but it'll be the same theme. I was waiting for one of two things: for price to either bounce off the top of this trade line or close below it. It bounced off it rather than close below it. But to trade that long there, and at that time of day, of course, that was the NFP statement, and that's kind of sleeping time for me. So it's impossible for me to just take an entry there and trade straight into the weekly pivot, straight into the top of the channel, straight into the resistance trade line. Just not going to do it. So that's why I have this trade over here as a break and retest of not only the trade line, but the weekly pivot as well. As I say, we're not triggered into that yet, but there are the parameters if you want to follow that trade. The buy is at 83 or 1.8335. The stop loss is at 1.8193 and first profit at 1.8400. Now, if this actually does go, first profit is about there somewhere. Yeah, in there. I think that's well and good. Second take profit, I'd probably be looking at this level here. So 1.8655. And then I would just let the rest rip. So there'd be 1/3 off there, 1/3 off there. And then we'll look to see if we can get this actually reversing. If we do, we'll make some money out of it and we'll trail very, very loosely until we get to a strong resistance level, and then we might tighten things up. That's if we're fortunate enough to get all of those scenarios taking place. Now I've got two orders on Euro Yen. Euro Yen, we've already hit TP1 on the first order where we got in at 121.86, and we have not moved us. Yes, we have moved our stop on that. We've moved our stop on that to here. Can't remember what we did here. I'm just checking now. Okay. So we've moved. This is a free trade. That's right. We closed 50% of the position at TP1, which was 47 pips, 43 pips. And we move our stop to minus 43 pips. So we can't lose on this. We can only win. And the reason for that we've done it that way is because there is a second entry under this bar here. Now, I have to make a confession. I'm not in this trade yet. I should be, but I'm not. I set this on an EA and it expired on me. Let me just center that up a little bit better. There we go. And I have since replaced the order. So the order's still intact, but I should have been triggered into it and haven't been at this point. So I'm at no risk still in this particular situation. If you wanted to jump on board the second position and you're not on the first, then there are the parameters for that. 121.28 is the entry level and the stop loss is 122.62. TP1 is at 119.95. Now that level, 119.95, is around about here somewhere, just before the consolidation area. This will be the trade that makes us money. We'll take a third off at that point. And TP2, you'd probably have to be thinking monthly pivot or just above the monthly pivot, take another third off there or close the trade. The reason that you would consider closing the trade is that that part of that cycle would then be over and you would expect a retracement at that point. Now, the other way you could look at it is take a third off again and leave your stops fairly loose so that when this does retrace, you don't get taken out. I think I'd prefer to probably take the rest off there, wait for that retracement, and look to get back in here. Now, I've tried that many times before, and it works fairly well, except on Pound Aussie. Last time I did that, it went monthly pivot. What monthly pivot? And it went whoosher straight through it. So, yeah, I guess I should be a little bit aware of that one. If this does reverse, just take some profit here rather than close the entire trade and then maybe not miss out on the final, what would be another 330 odd pips if it in fact does go there. And you can still scale back into it if you do get the retracement as well. So if that were to be the case, then happy days. We are, don't forget, trading massive counter trend here. The absolute strong bullish move on euro yen is in retracement, as it is on a lot of these pairs, and this is exactly what we've been waiting for. That's why we want to be safe, right? Because we don't know yet if this is a retracement or a reversal. So we start off light, we get as safe in the market as quick as we possibly can, and then if we get a nice retracement off our entries, we can look to scale into it and build our position as we go. So at this point in time, I'm still safe on this one. I'm at no risk, but that's because I haven't been entered on the second position that I should have been. I should be at a 0.25% risk on this, but I'm not. What else have we got? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're only in 3, 4 positions with you guys. At the moment. As I said, you can't trade them all. I mean, the yen pairs looked amazing, and it does appear today as though we've gone risk off, and that's going to make the yen strong. It's going to make the Swissy strong, and it should make things like the Aussie, things like the CAD, things like the Kiwi, all fairly weak today. That should be the case. Now, I've been super keen to trade Aussie Kiwi long, and this is one I decided not to take this morning, but I do like that nice little tweezer bottom sitting here. It's not classic because I like to see tweezer bottom at a bottom for obvious reasons. This is a bottom. That's not a bottom, but I do like the double rejection of this level, which is what, 106.60. Where it has been support in the past. So I considered this and thought, a bit early. let me see price get back into this range, the range being the ascending channel, of course. Take out the weekly pivot, then come back and retest the area, and that would be the time to go for me. So again, I'll exercise some patience until that comes along. That's probably about the summary of the positions that we are in at the moment. Chandra is saying head and shoulders on euro yen.
Yep. I'll have a look. I'm back now, mate. Sorry, I just wanted to deal with the broker finally opened up, so I was able to take action.
You got him, right?
I can't. Well, yeah, I got the website.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, that's part of what we're trading here, Chandru. Absolutely, and I'm hopeful that that continues to be the case, and it does prove itself. Yeah. Look, as I said before, they're all the same trade. Every single one of, well, not every single one, but most of them are the same trade, because we are potentially retracing / reversing, and those that have been trending very, very strongly, in particular against the risk off currencies, and of course against the dollar, those that have been rallying and and selling off very, very rapidly and sustainably over the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's got to come to an end, and that's what we've been patiently waiting for. You know, as we always say, the trend is always only a roadmap to the next range, and that's what we're trying to ascertain, whether we've got a range here or whether we've got a reversal or retracement or reversal. And that's why I have had to be patient and not just take the first thing that comes along. I've had to wait for these lower highs to occur and these higher lows, like in Euro Aussie there. That's one that we didn't trade yesterday because of the time of day. Sound asleep when that happens, but you know, that's the bar that you're looking for. That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It would have been a lot better if it had a black body, and probably something that I would hesitate to trade, because it does have a white body and I've got to jump in straight away. Don't like that. But the double bottom's very clear. We spoke about this yesterday, and I was actually looking for a lower high, if you'll recall. But I was more than happy to see a higher low and trade it long, again, as I said before. So that's pretty much the classic, that setup there. Double bottom, higher low, give me a black body there and you wouldn't stop me. But the white body puts me off a little bit. That's more a momentum or trend traders candle. It's not my candle at all. Aussie dollar, 4 bars, long tails, but same upper resistance. What does that mean? Well, it could mean that it's an ascending triangle. I'll have a look at that. Aussie US dollar, I'd have one here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, on which chart we're looking at? Hourly, right. Come on, switch. Okay, there we go. Let me go a bit wider. And what are you telling me, Crystal? 4 bars, long tails, but same upper resistance. 4 bars. Oh, okay, down here. Is that what we're talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 bars there. Okay, now I'm with you. Upper resistance. You mean up here? So what that potentially means to me is this may well be the start of a range. That's all that means to me at the moment. It may mean that we're going to break or bounce off this trend line, and you'd be backing the bounce at this point, and going back to the top of that range. If you want to see the range that I'm talking about, it probably begins there and is probably looking about like that. You could probably extend it over here if you wanted to, but you know, that'll do me for now. So that becomes a tradable position for me. What I would need to see to trade that is price close under here and consolidate under here for a few bars, get back above it and retest it. that then tells me that that breakout is not a breakout at all. It's a fake out. So that's exactly what I'll be looking for there. Very, very difficult to trade short at what I'm seeing. Yes, I see the double top sitting here, but to trade that double top, I'd want to see a lower high. And now I'm not looking for a lower high because we're at the bottom of the range. I'm looking for a higher low. So maybe we could trade a higher low or a false break here, maybe the same thing. So is it bullish or bearish? On this chart, I'm a bull. On this chart, I'm still a bull. On this chart, I don't know. Haven't got a clue. We're at the top, so I'm looking for a lower high. So I'm ambivalent on the bigger time frames at the moment because I haven't got enough information. But on the smaller time frames, I'm a short-term bull. And it's really important to understand the difference. Short-term is only that. And I'm only looking to take this much out of the market, no more. I'm not saying this is going long above the highs. I'm not saying it's going short below the weekly pivot. What I am saying is if I see a setup that tells me we could go back to the top of the range, that's how I would like to trade this, because I can see that we have a setup or a potential setup. It's not there in full yet. But on the bigger time frames, I really don't see that. I see a double top, but I don't see a lower high, and I would need to see that to trade it. I'm afraid it will stay within your range for a while. Well, I hope so, Lewis, because that means we'll make some dough out of it. No, I didn't get in Euro Aussie, Chandru. No, I didn't. As I said, yes, it was a very good setup. Agreed. As I said, you can't take them all because they're the same trade. You'd be putting a massive amount of risk on the table if you took all of those setups at the same time, because you're going to get the same result out of them. You go very well if you're right. I've got to say that, but you're putting a lot of risk on the table. The idea would be to get yourself safe in one or two of them and then see if the others have triggered. And if the others haven't triggered, then you can probably trade them. Pound Aussie, beautiful setup there. But I can't take that because this is a higher risk because I'm trading into the pivots and that resistance area. But if I wait till it breaks and retests, maybe we get that option here again, then I feel much safer. In the meantime, the other ones that did set up, I've been able to trade. Hopefully we get the result out of those. And if we get a result out of this, we're going to get a result out of those anyway. But we're not at risk. We're not at massive risk. So we're not taking the same setup at the same time for all of these pairs, because if there is a reversal on, they'll all go. They won't be just one or two of them. They'll all go. And maybe you can scale into them, as I said, as you see fit. Now, we haven't really spoken about today, have we? Today, 30-minute charts, very, very quickly. That's where we started this conversation, I'm sure. The 30-minute charts today are smacking of a few things. This is euro dollar, right? Do we have a bias on euro dollar, guys? Do we remember what that is? Or do we have one? Should we have one? If we go back to the beginning of the week, we spoke about this level, right? We haven't gone too far above it. And you remember that my favorite, can anybody remember what my favorite number is on euro dollar? What price level? See if anybody was paying attention. What is my favorite? Very, very close, Shukri. Perfect. Got it. 113.60. It's my favorite level on euro dollar. And that's it. Yep. 1.1360. And we're still there. So I'm a massive bear, this pair. I just would refuse to think that's pretty close, guys. 1.1360 it is. It always does find that level. There's no question about that. And if you need proof of that, just go back in time. Go back as far as you want to go. it will show you that one, it's a cloud of a price, but it's the number that I give it, right? And it's in here that it became very, very popular in the last few years, or last 5 years, where it just couldn't break through it. Bang, 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 as I keep saying. Then it came back, couldn't break through it again. Then it did, came back to it. Then it did again. And now we're back there again. So we're having another crack at it. I didn't trigger FOMC shouldn't have taken the trade. And I'll explain that to you why. The FOMC breakout shouldn't have been taken. I've got a confession to make. I actually said it before I went to bed, and I did take it, and I got out of it straight away as soon as I woke up. So 113.60 for me is where we turn around here. Where do we go? Oh, look, no idea. Absolutely no idea. But every time we've hit it before, we've pulled off it fairly substantially. So here we are again, and that's exactly what I'm waiting for. So my bias, that was the question. What's my bias? My bias is short. So I'm looking for a reason to take this short. Was there possibly, it's a bit ugly, isn't it? That's a 30-minute chart that I'm looking at. I don't really see anything here that excites me. There was a hint of a false break here, no question. We didn't get a candle to trade it. Would I have? Probably not, because we'd be trading straight into the retest of a daily pivot. Not a fan of that. I don't see a trade here for me at the moment. I just see consolidation. Perhaps if we use the resistance trend line as a false break scenario, come back the other way, maybe I can get interested there, but it is a bit messy. Dollar yen, oh gee, I don't want to throw this in the bin, this currency pair, fair income. It just haunts the crap out of me. Reason, well, let's go back to here again, shall we? We seem to spend a lot of time on this chart, and the reason is clear, because we keep going from the top to the bottom of this descending channel. Now, you can see that in the last 3 months, make that 4 months, we've moved very, very little. We've just gone up and down in the one spot. But when we got this breakout to the high side last week, I thought, for the life of me, this is on its way back to here. And hence, using the dollar index chart, remember, I'm thinking long US dollar. Certainly long US dollar yen, because the yen was out of favor at the time. And you can see right now that has just made me a complete and utter fool. I've been made a complete and utter fool many times before, of course. Fortunately, it hasn't cost me anything on this occasion. But I really expected this to go to the top of the range. The descending channel. It hasn't, of course. And now we find ourselves back where we were. So good luck with that. It's a tough pair to trade, really is. And I'm not looking to trade. Well, let's have a quick look at the 30-minute chart just for fun again, shall we? Because we do have a little bit of a base forming. Would I get interested? I always get interested if I see something, I suppose. And maybe I can see something there with a resistance trend line. I don't see much with a support trend line, I've got to say. But I do see a little bit of a base forming. I can't trade into these pivots again. It's just not possible. So I'd need to see them break. No, let's move on. Don't want to know about it. Aussie US dollar. Well, we've been a massive bear of this, of course, since when? Since here, I think. That's where we got out of the long, and we were looking for a retest or a test of the monthly pivot. And it didn't come, and it didn't come, and bang goes your mangoes, away she went. I did trade a little Aussie US dollar long on the 30-minute chart last week, which was a winner. You guys may have traded that with me, but I certainly wouldn't be going long here. There's just no way on God's green earth that I'll be looking to trade this long. Rather, I'll be looking for it to come back under the weekly pivot and retest it, give me a lower high in this vicinity, and then I'd look to trade it short. So I'm still a bear, the Aussie dollar, and I think we're actually trading that on Aussie CAD at the moment. But yeah, the dollar, the mighty dollar, it's a bit of a pain. And if I can catch this rally back to that trend line I showed you on the dollar index, look, I think we'll have a real good time for the next few weeks. But geez, taking this time, I got to say, no entry on the pound. If I was trading the pound today, would I be bullish or bearish? I'd be looking for price to come back inside this range, I've got to say. Again, it goes to what I've said about the US dollar index. If this gets back underneath the weekly pivot, exactly the same as I've just described on the Aussie, retests it, then I'm a bear down to the monthly pivot very, very quickly. Pretty peeved that we missed this one, to be fair. And as I keep saying, the only opportunity I had to trade that was on an hourly chart Monday week ago. How do I remember that? Because it haunts me. That's why, that bar there. I would love to have been able to jump in there, but the chances of me trading an hourly chart on Monday morning are absolutely zero. So there's no way I could have traded that, and very, very difficult to get in on the way down as well. So anyway, today, do I see a reversal on? Well, probably already happened if I was looking for it. On the 30-minute chart, so there's not going to be a trade there anytime soon. But on the 4-hour chart, that may well change. A hint of a double bottom, certainly a bit of a hammer sitting there. If it came off the weekly pivot and gave me a higher low, why not? That's why. Untested daily pivot, I'd have to see that happen. This may even be a short if we got to the weekly pivot and got something of a trade line that we can use as a confluence, then we may look to trade that back to the daily pivot. That's all I see at the moment, is the 30-minute chart accommodating. Not really. There's nothing there for me right now. I don't use a trend line from back here. So no, answer no. Nothing at the moment. If it got up to here, it'd need to do some fancy work to get me in. So there's nothing there. Dollar Swissy, look, that will probably continue to sell off as we go risk off, as we appear to be today. So this is too far gone. There's no way I can trade it. And the Kiwi, very interesting. Let me have a look at this. That also looks to be forming a range here to me. It's not there yet on the 4-hour chart, but it's certainly showing me that on the 30-minute chart. So I'll put that in for you in case you can't see it. It's not quite formed yet, but gee whiz, it looks likely to me. We've got a form of resistance level through here as well. I'd be looking to trade this long if I was looking to trade at all until that level broke. But I would need to see something to back that double bottom up, which of course is going to be what? A higher low. And that is it for the majors, mate. Took a little while because of all those trades that were in on the miners. So nothing's really changed, mate. It's very much the same as it was this time yesterday, where we're looking for these reversals. If they come, we should be doing okay. If they don't, then we're not at any risk at the moment, or the slight risk for some of you on Euro Yen. Other than that, all is well.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. Okay, well, I don't really have a lot to add. I think if you're in trades, it's great because the market is on the move. But while it's on the move, the best thing to do is just sit back and wait for it to consolidate again. I quite like the FTSE in the area that it's at for a long, but it's got to remain here. You know, the market is incredibly heavy today, so it might not be today. You know, but I think if it can remain where it is, then we may well have the retracement leg going on. But that's the big question, isn't it, mate? What are we going through right now?
Yeah, question mark. We don't really know. We're potentially in the right space, but that's yet to be proven. I did say I would look at this euro dollar FOMC breakout trade and why you shouldn't have traded it. So let me get rid of a few lines here. I haven't got the, maybe I have on the other one, euro dollar. Yeah, I do. Okay. So those were the parameters, right? This was our long entry. This was our short entry here. And that's the bar there. That's the FOMC bar right there. Now, the reason you shouldn't have taken that trade was because of, well, two reasons I shouldn't have, because I shouldn't have been out of bed. I only went to bed 2 hours before it started, or the announcement. But here's the problem. Here's where the market was when the announcement was made. So you were closer to the top. You were 44 pips from the top, and you were 37, 39, 37 pips from the daily pivot. And that's the issue. You need to be closer to the daily pivot. And I said 15 pips either side. That's where you want to be when that announcement's made. So you shouldn't have taken that order, shouldn't have taken the trade. As I said, I preset it before I went to bed because I thought I was close enough and the market was coming down. And I thought, okay, this is going to be okay. But as soon as I woke up, well, actually it was a little bit after I woke up, I closed the order, and I think I lost about $10 on the trade. There's 2 beers I won't be having this weekend, but that's the only damage that was caused. So you've really got to be careful with that. You don't want to be anywhere near the top or the bottom when that announcement's made. For this reason, look at the candle. That's the exact reason. Because it's a statement and not a number, you can very, very quickly go either way and both ways. And both ways is the issue. When you do go both ways, if you were, right, let me measure that candle. And I know this doesn't happen every time, but that candle is 101 pips. So if you're on the daily pivot, you're talking 50 odd pips either way. You don't get taken in. You don't get taken in. And that's the difference. If you're close to here, you can get taken in and you get into trouble. And some occasions, obviously, you can get taken out. So that's why I say, please make sure you're near the daily pivot. Okie dokie. $10 is a bottle of Stones. It's a while since I bought a bottle, Dennis, but yeah, I should get one. You're right. We're just getting cool. It's actually not too bad today, but the fires are light. A bottle of Stones doesn't sound like a bad idea, certainly for tomorrow night. That's it for me. How about you, Ash?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah, the FTSE's off and running. As I say, I'm interested in the long here, but just to take advantage of a bit of a bounce. But there's nothing as yet. So we'll get into some patterns in the US show. We'll talk about some patterns, and we'll talk about why they're so important and why they are also what we should be looking for to trade. But I think we need a bit of time on that particular subject. So we'll save it for later on because I think the market may well be probably on its way, and maybe there may be a trade, but if there's not, we'll have a little bit of time for some discussion. So I think we'll go into that later.
Right, mate. Happy days. The last of the Wild West show is on tonight with the music, and we'll play that. I've got 2 webinars to host prior to that, so I've got a busy night ahead. I'll be just about out of voice, I would imagine, by the US session, but I'm pretty good at sign language.
Great stuff. All right, mate. All right. Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I will cover it in a UK show as well, Helen. I'll try and get to that when things are a bit less hectic. Things are on the move, and I was just trying to kind of deal with some shares as well, which have been dealt with. But yeah, when we get a bit more time, when the market's a bit quieter, and we can get into patterns and stuff like that. Have a great weekend, Dennis. We will see you soon.
Dennis, are you a Mexican?
Today.
Dennis is a Mexican.
Oh, yeah.
That means he's south of the border here in Australia, right? Because he's an AFL fan.
Is he?
Started 2 weeks ago. Dennis.
Oh, we got our starting next Wednesday.
the rugby league.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a strange Strange set of events, isn't it, mate? We got the football starting in a closed stadium. You know, they're sort of like, but obviously we're trying to get back to some normality. But the thing is, the market looks to me like it's potentially reacting because there's been a second wave in Texas, and there's some fear kind of coming back in with this second wave of coronavirus, and we're trying to get back to some normality. And I think people are hoping that that's the case, but I don't think that governments have really got a genuine handle on this stuff. And the truth is that the virus at this particular stage is all encompassing. So the virus will really dictate, I think, when we are on a more even footing and a more even keel. So we've got to keep our ears to the ground on that. I think there's been enough demonstrations over the course of the last week or two in the globe to suggest that if we are going to get that second wave, then it may well be about to spike. But if it doesn't come, I think we can be a bit calmer. But
yeah, exactly. You know. And then we can look forward to the lead up to the US election.
Yes.
Actually, hasn't that taken a back seat because of the virus? It's amazing.
Yes, it was. Well, it absolutely has. Yeah, it absolutely has. And I suppose it's because Donald Trump wants to deal with this thing before he starts getting his boxing gloves out and having to take on anything else. I'm sure he's been advised on that. I'm sure he can't wait to kind of get stuck in. But yeah, we have got that little run up pretty soon, and also we got Brexit January the 1st, is it, or January the 31st next year? So lots coming up towards the end of the year that are going to shift these markets around. I suspect some further pound weakness is probably on its way at some point.
Goodness only knows, mate. It changes day to day. Risk on, risk off. It's the Mr. Miyagi trades coming up, you know.
Yep.
That's what's been going on.
That's where we are.
4 months. Wow, Dennis. Wow.
Great holiday. Yeah, you know what? Some people have loved this. And I have to say, you know, from my perspective, I've not had a major issue with it. You know, I've still been working, and it's been quite nice kind of spending time with the family. But we did both say yesterday that we're a bit done with it now. We're kind of ready to get back to some sort of normality.
Well, the only difference it's made to me is it's made me busier because
yes.
You know, all these people at home are redoing their gardens and all those sorts of things, and bamboo's flying out the door, I've got to say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Crystal, and that's the problem, isn't it? People don't really care about the vulnerable and justice. You know, it's just about the economy, the power, and the money. But I suppose collectively we can change that. You know, over time. I think things took a bit of a shift here recently. Actually, quite a few celebrities came out and apologized for certain sketches they did, which represented people of color. And it's a step in the right direction. You know, it's going to be a long and hard tanker to turn, but
as long as something actually happens, because you know
that's the problem, isn't it?
We talk about it for X amount of time. And we have all these protests, and I've got absolutely nothing to say but praise about it, frankly. But really nothing changes at the end of the day. It seems to calm down, and then we're back to square one. I hope that's
it's terrible, isn't it? And we were talking about the environment with the same thing. You know, I remember not so long ago it was the environment that was on everybody's radar with Greta Thunberg and things like that. So I hope the momentum doesn't stop with these things, because we do have, particularly, you know, I think 4 or 5 huge injustices that need to be tackled before some of the others need to be tackled. But the environment's another big one that has also taken a bit of a back seat during this period, which has been actually, you know, pretty good for the environment. You know, it has to be said. You know, I see much less planes in the air, but I was down at Brighton Beach after they lifted a bit of the lockdown, and it was an absolute mess. And you just sort of think, you know, have people not learned anything, and are they not sort of ready to change their habits? It almost feels like we need 5 years of something of a lockdown to actually change people's habits, because people are still the same. You know, and that's my concern.
If that's the case.
Yeah.
Worst things can happen. All right, mate. We'll catch you in the US show. Everybody else, those of you who won't be with us, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for your company throughout the week. My sincere sympathies to you, Dennis, that you live in Brisbane. And just kidding, of course. There's a bit of a rivalry goes on between the north and the south here in Australia. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, patio.
Right.
That's
right. I better go. I'll see you all tomorrow, 5 to 8. Oh, no, I won't next Monday, 5 to 8. Those in the US show, I'll see you later.
That's the date. Don't be late.
Sorry, mate. Sorry about that.